Welcome to Arts Talk. I'm Bill Roberts.
I'm Jennifer Boudreau.
How are you, Jen?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to this show.
It's going to be a fun show. I am going to classify this Arts Talk as a special edition.
Oh, excellent.
Because we're having a panel discussion to discuss the state of our film industry here in Edmonton and surrounding area. Mm-hmm. So who are our panelists?
Well, we have Matthew Altheim with us from Nordic Filmworks, Ava Karvanen from IATSE, and Jesse Szymanski from WIFTA, or Women in Film and Television.
Awesome. So what do you think, Jen, about the industry right now as it stands? What do you feel?
I feel like we're kind of at a standstill, unfortunately, but maybe with a new independent film commission or a Screen Industries office, we can start creating a little bit more movement and get something going. So I'm hoping that we can find out what everybody else thinks we need in our independent film commission and where we can go from here.
For sure, and I totally agree. We have so many good crews here, actors, writers, producers, directors within our area. So many independent filmmakers that are making fantastic short films and even working on features. So why can't we get the industry to grow back up here as it should be? Why can't we get the companies from LA to... Welcome back to Arts Talk. As I mentioned in the opener, I'm excited because we have a panel discussion, so special edition of Arts Talk here tonight. I want to do quick introductions. First name, we have Matthew from Nordic Films, we have Jesse from WIFTA, and we have Ava who's the VP of Film of IATSE. Welcome everybody, we're so happy to have you all here this evening. And we're going to have, I think, an informative and fun discussion to talk about our industry here in Edmonton. And Jen, I know that you want to open this up because you've got a question right off the top.
Well, I want to know what we think the current state of the film industry is in Edmonton. Personally, I feel like it's kind of lacking.
What do you think, Ava?
Well, I don't know if it's lacking. So what happened is in the last year we lost the Edmonton Film Commissioner, and Economic Development Edmonton made a decision not to rehire that position. And so industry sort of said, well, what are we going to do? We feel that position's important to the city. We need a champion for our city to go out there and sell the city. So the city agreed that, met with stakeholders, and we decided that we needed to do some consultation to come up with a strategic plan for the city, not just to jump in and hire someone. We wanted to make sure that if we did hire someone, we, meaning the industry, collaboratively, that it would be someone who's going to move us in the right direction. And it might not just be one person. So right now, the city's doing some consultation to try to figure out, what is the role, what do we need to make sure that when we do move in that direction, it's with a good vision in mind. And Economic Development did decide that they didn't want to house a film commission office either. So we're looking to see where might the industry, that position or that, it wouldn't be just a film commissioner either. I think it would be a redefined role. So where would that sit?
Oh, interesting.
What do you think? I was going to ask Jesse, what do you think?
I really think it's a time for opportunity for change, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. There's a lot of people that have a concern with the commission role not being filled presently. That being said, to just throw someone into that role, if that role is not defined properly, not housed properly, and not supported properly, would be unwise. I think that you'd be setting someone up to fail. Right. And so I think that this is a time for change, and like I said, it's a great opportunity.
Matthew?
Well, Edmonton's a great place to film. We have so much to offer in terms of we have great producers, filmmakers, huge acting community, huge theater community, a lot of talent in this city. And instead of having kind of a commission that appoints somebody to represent us, I think we need to become the members of this commission. We need to have somebody that we maybe elect from a membership-driven process. A little bit democratic would be great. Because that way as an industry and as industry members, we can hold that person accountable. We can have our views, an open door policy to have us as filmmakers come through and ensure that when we are looking for film investment to Edmonton, because we're different than Calgary, a lot different in terms of vistas, and we've lost our sound stage here in Edmonton. Things aren't great right now, but I think now's the time for discussion and consultation to see what kind of the future holds for us as filmmakers here in the city.
What do you think the biggest difference is between Edmonton and Calgary then? Like, why is their film industry so significantly better than ours or more active than ours.
And
I
that's
don't know if it's better, you guys. I think it's very different.
Right.
Edmonton, okay, we're the entrepreneurs, right? So Edmonton has a lot of intellectual property coming out of Edmonton. We have a lot of homegrown series here, and that's what makes us different. We have more, I think, independent production. I could be wrong, but we're doing a different type of production. We're not going to attract what Calgary does. We don't have the vistas. We don't have mountains, prairies, foothills. We're just different. So we don't need to be like Calgary. We need to be different. I'm with you. Like, we've got great talent here. I agree. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us to shape our future. We said, this is great. You know, instead of let's rushing, let's come up with a plan that's well thought out and do something that works for us, that's collaborative and has stakeholder involvement. And we all say, yes, we're in, you know?
I totally agree as well. We have to be very careful about the comparison, and I think that's something that has been a common thing that occurs, is why Calgary and Edmonton, and really look at them as two very separate entities. Calgary is definitely much more of a service providing city, and they are structured to do that. We are definitely more of an Indigenous producer community, and so those different entities have different challenges and therefore would have to be looked at differently.
So do you think then the new commission, when it opens again in Edmonton, needs to focus more internally then, instead of trying to really sell Edmonton and attract outside service productions the same way Calgary is, focus more on promoting internal producers, shows coming out of Edmonton, and really support us locally instead of just bringing in jobs?
I think we need to have more of a, because we're indie, we're the cool kids in the back of the bus. We do things a little differently in Edmonton. We're not going to be Calgary. We can sure learn from them a little bit and kind of see what they're doing. But at the same time, Edmonton, we need to have kind of that guild mentality where we're making the industry better by working together and making it better for the future. We're a big short film town. We have a great film festival. We have great community that way, but we can do larger productions because Calgary does service a lot of Hollywood productions. I mean, Fargo, Hell on Wheels, Revenant was just there. It has the vistas, and we can't really compete with the Bull River and stuff like that, but we can do things differently. We can find like innovative and entrepreneurial productions to do here, again, as a community, find more ways to work together. So I think a new film commissioner, a new office, should strategically try to put us and fit us together in terms of indie studios to make bigger productions and bigger projects. Because I think long term that'll be better for our city.
And I'm in total agreement with that as well. And the one thought I have too is, what are your thoughts of having, though, the ability to bring in outside production companies, which get our crews working here? What are your feelings on that?
I definitely think first and foremost, a support of the Indigenous producer here in Edmonton. That's where our talent really shines. That being said, I do think finding a delicate balance of bringing in projects to service provide those productions would be an asset. What that's going to do is it's going to bridge those gaps in production between things to sustain crew, and as well it's going to train crew. So giving opportunity for experience to come in and train people within the city, and then as well we would want to figure out a way to retain that crew here.
And that was a big question I think we had as well, is making sure that we can retain the people that we have here that are so good at what they do, so we don't lose them to Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, and that kind of thing.
And I think that's the problem. I think we are losing people right now because it has been slower. And I do think we need a balance of independent production and foreign production and service production, because that way you build and maintain capacity. And also when you work with people from outside your community, you learn different things. You learn new skills. You're exposed to new ideas. It's the same thing as an artist. Sure. You know, if we always work in our same little world, we don't see those new ideas. So it's good. It's a positive thing to have a little of both.
I'm going to get you to hold that thought, Ava, because we have to go to a quick break. So we're going to be right back after this.
Hi, welcome back. So I just want to get back to Ava and talk a little bit more about what we can do to start retaining some of our talent here, because they are slowly leaving. And I do remember that we tried to incorporate it into one of the incentives for filmmakers, that if you had been an Alberta resident, I think within the last 7 years, then that counted towards the incentive as kind of a move to bring people back. But I don't know if that really worked the way that it had been planned.
I'm not quite sure what that is, but
the Alberta spend.
Well, I mean, right now there's the Alberta Media Fund that qualifies your production for up to 29% of their Alberta expenditures. So it's an incentive for productions to come and spend money in Alberta. So that's an incentive that's there. But I think where we're moving in terms of thinking about keeping a robust, healthy film community here is that we need to have, instead of just being seasonal, we want to have year-round employment. So a healthy mix of arts-based funding, commercial projects for commercial television, maybe video and digital media, and stuff that's independent. So a little bit of foreign, meaning stuff maybe coming from other jurisdictions other than Alberta. It might be Canadian co-productions, it might be stuff from the US, it might be stuff from Europe. But that's what you need to keep busy, healthy industry here. And a documentary mixed in there too, because our crews that work on documentary also work on drama. But we need to maintain that crew base and people working year round if we want to sustain this industry. We need to build and maintain that capacity, as Jesse was saying.
And it's so interesting because just working on set for the last 8 years, the crews on Blackstone often would prefer to work in Edmonton, to be in Edmonton, to stay in Edmonton. There's a sense of pride. Family is here. Their relationship connection is stronger if they stay where they're rooted. There's so many reasons too. It basically comes down to food on the table. Right. You know, people need to be able to sustain themselves, to sustain their families, and if there isn't the opportunity to work year-round, then they're going to need to go where there is.
And I think the crews here, and I was on Blackstone in the first season for a couple of small roles, and I think watching the crew work here and the crews that work here locally, they work so well together. It's just such a big family, and the teamwork is so great, and I think that's something that has to be retained here. What are your thoughts on that, Matthew?
Yeah, I think a lot of us have gone south of the border to do short stints. I know I myself have, and I love Edmonton. It's just such a, it's you know, we're a little more affordable than Calgary. We're a little different culturally. We're like the biggest festival city in Canada. Most people don't know that. We have like the biggest arts community. It's such a great hub to do that. And so we needed to strengthen that and encourage people to stay here and film here. And in order to do that, we need to have an industry that is just, you know, can be successful and really support those people. And a lot of it was from Alberta spend. So like AMDF had special grants for screenwriters that were in Alberta or stories that involved Alberta, stuff like that. It does help, but I don't think we've seen it be as effective as it should be. So I think there's a lot of, during this kind of process, to have a conversation and figure out what we can do to have year-long productions, right? So.
Do you think the funding is more challenging for local projects starting in Edmonton as opposed to a bigger project coming in? Like, is that part of the problem, that we're just not able to find the funds to get independent films of a certain quality off the ground in Edmonton?
I would say it's definitely a more challenging time because we're seeing, you know, this movement of eyeballs from an advertising-driven model of television where you have scheduled views moving to an offline broadband environment. So that's a challenge we all face in industry. However, I still think that you know, funding, I would say, moving out of that broadcast model, so that's the challenges independent producers face, is to get that broadcast license. You know, what brings outside production to a city like Edmonton? A financial incentive, maybe a low dollar right now that we're seeing. That's the kind of things, and a talented crew base or something that's very specific to the location that they need. Or in the case of the City of Edmonton, we have a film fund, so that can act as an incentive as well.
Right. How do you feel about the whole Deadmonton thing that they were trying to sell, trying to attract specifically just horror films and genre kind of films to Edmonton?
It's part of it. I mean, that's, so we have to look at how are we different from Calgary? And there was quite a few horror films being made here, so why not look at that? We also have Dead Fest, which is a horror film festival here. So I would say with the city, in terms of thinking about how to market to niche industries, that's the way to think, right? So we're thinking outside the box. We might not have Revenant here, come here, but we might have something different.
Is there any concern?
To Return of DiCaprio.
Is there any concern though that if we did that and he became basically a one genre type town, let's say, is there any concern that it kind of locks it in to that way?
I watched that kind of process unfold, and at first I thought it was a great idea. Hey, it's kind of a niche thing that we can be great at, and we are great at it. We did Ginger Snaps and movies like The Sword, and at the soundstage we don't have anymore. But I think we put all of our eggs in baskets way too early on. I think it became, with the former commission, kind of like their pet project was, hey, we're going to be Edmonton, we're going to brand, we're going to become this city, and then all of a sudden we didn't really have production work going on, so it was a success. No, honestly, it wasn't, and so we have to reevaluate that. Sure, that can be part of our model, but it can't be the whole thing.
I totally agree. I think that what both of you have said, that it's a part of it, but it can just be a part of it. There's so many other opportunities out there, and like you said about the community and how much talent there is, and I don't know that we necessarily need to drill down into something and to kind of typecast the city as that. I think that we should be open to possibility.
Right.
I get scared easily, so
So you're staying away from that genre.
I do more happy things. Lots of puppets.
Right.
Puppies? Or
Puppets.
Okay.
Just building on what you had said earlier in terms of collaborating and talking to stakeholders, I think we're going to come up with a solution that's very different than Calgary's, and we call it the Made in Edmonton solution. Because Edmonton, we're entrepreneurs.
Yes.
We think outside the box. And I think the city coming to us, that's part of the right step. They're moving in the right direction to talk to stakeholders to say, hey, how do you want this future office to be? What's the role? What's it going to look like? And it's a great opportunity.
And I feel like there's support there, that voices are being heard and that there is a desire to support. But we also need to come with some solutions and have our voices be heard and not just go, there's a problem, but okay, there's a problem, but maybe let's identify or contribute to the solution.
You got it. We're going to continue on in a minute. We have to throw to another break, so we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Jesse, to continue on with our segment on the panel discussion, you want to talk a little bit about women in film and in the industry here in Edmonton?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Vice President of the Board of WIFTA, Women in Film and Television of Alberta, and I think just a part of the community growing and such, what we're trying to do is really bring women together and offer opportunities for networking and opportunities for volunteer and opportunities for mentoring and inspiring emerging talent. And women in particular, but of course we welcome men to be members as well. There's a big, voice that's happening, especially south of us right now, in regards to equality of pay with women, in regards to diversification of role with women. I recently shared something that 4% of all directors in Hollywood of all time were female. And it was, a lot of stars speaking into that, and I think it's really taking on, and we're definitely a part of that and want to help nourish it and grow it and see change. We want to be part of the change.
And I'd say from a labor point of view, just building on what Jesse said, there's a lot of men and women, and there's a lot of diversity in our community, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for new graduates telling stories on new screens. And this is a growing industry. I was looking just at statistics across Canada and looking at growth, and definitely there was, I think, 20% growth in film and television production in Canada, and a lot of it is from service work, foreign work coming from the US. This is a great opportunity for Alberta to look at alternate ways to diversify and build and maintain this economy here that's not as resource dependent. It's a green industry. We employ lots of people, actors, craftspeople, drivers, equipment rentals, hotels, restaurants, painters, hair, makeup, wardrobe. I mean, it's a really, really labor-intensive industry.
So if you had a crystal ball and you could look into the future, say a year, 2, 3 years down the road, where do you think we might be?
I'm actually pretty hopeful. At our studio, we employ about 2/3 actually female filmmakers, which is actually pretty cool to think about it. I'm hopeful, looking at the interns, the mentors that come through each year to our studio and do internships and mentorships and shadow and all that great stuff. I see so many women right now, and so that's hopeful to see that the industry will become more balanced, because in the past, 4% in Hollywood, that's not great, and women are great filmmakers and they tell great stories, and so I see that every day in our studio particularly. So.
Just to jump on that exactly, and that I so appreciate that you said that, because really, if you have the bulk of male filmmakers, and really you're not bringing 50% of those stories that can really come to the table, and diverse storytelling. Right. So I completely agree with you there.
And so let's take that crystal ball and move it a little bit further. Where do you think the industry here in Edmonton will be in a couple of years?
Well, I'd like to see that we would have like 4 series a year taking place here, with a mix of foreign service work and Indigenous independent derived IP coming from here locally. People working year round, not leaving to go to Vancouver and Calgary to make a living. And so we'd have, let's say, 4 series and a couple features, and we'd have web series, and we would have digital media happening here, and the games, and it would be a thriving screen-based industry. And I really think we're close. I think that within a year, I really think that we could see way more work happening. I think we're so close. We just need that champion who's going to help lead us all, and that's part of the success for the industry.
What do you think, Jesse?
You know what, I completely agree, and it's how I started right off the top of this show, is that I think it's a time of opportunity, it's a time of change, and I think that's a good thing.
I'm going to be a little more critical. I think on our production, we have 70 creatives signed on. That's how hungry people are on our small little web series, which is ineligible for grant funding for one thing. So I think you're right, we need to have like a calendar where we have 4 big productions a year that are ongoing, so we have continual work. I think we need to have the entrepreneurial spirit to develop this content ourselves. But I think we have to think big. I think we have to think financial box office success, and that is difficult to do. And we see a lot of Canadian productions continually fail. So we have to be critical. We have to get outsiders to come in and show us the ropes a little bit more. We have to evolve kind of our industry here, and to be able to have box office success and commercial success with our productions. It can't just be grant-based productions.
And I'm not sure if feature is just the big box office. I think what we're seeing changing in industry is, with the success of platforms, over-the-top platforms, sort of like Netflix, that we are seeing that there are niche audience. So I don't think that having the box office Hollywood definition of success is really contingent in terms of the success of our industry here. I think we're going to find our own audiences, and the audiences are maybe smaller in different platforms, but I think they're there, and I think we're actually every year we're doing better at reaching them. When I look at the independent voices, and your web series, if you talk to me after the show, it is actually eligible for the Alberta Media Fund, so talk to me.
Political in nature. It's
Okay, well then maybe not. Okay, but maybe there's other funding, you know?
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
But maybe then you can, through these new platforms, crowdfunding and that, raise your own dollars,
We're doing,
you know?
we have paid sponsors, endorsements, all that sort of stuff like that. So we're doing it the old-fashioned way a little bit too, in a way.
Well, it's hard to believe how fast a discussion can go. This is a discussion that probably could be into a full hour show.
And it could definitely.
We'll
So-
come back next week.
Yeah, you'll be back next week for sure. So again, thank you so much. Such great opinions and thoughts about how the industry is here in Edmonton. So thanks, Ava, Jesse, Matthew. Thank you so much for being here. Is there any quick, final little thoughts you want to throw out there before we close off here?
It's a great industry. You know, the people that I work with are also my friends. I've been a part of this industry for more than 30 years. And, you know, if you look around and you see what's coming out of Edmonton, I'm proud of this industry here.
I would agree, and what you said earlier in regards to the crews and cast that come in from different places and get to experience that family-like mentality on set. They said it's like no other place, and I would love to sustain that, to grow that, and to build that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. It's been a great discussion. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back, and wow, what an amazing discussion. Holy.
It's got me excited, though.
I think that we can make some real changes, and we made a lot of headway today talking with everyone.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
You know, and I think again, if you're a filmmaker and you're at home watching the show, I hope it gives everybody some encouragement to where we need to go and where we need to be.
And if you have an opinion, make sure that you reach out to the city and give them your feedback. Every word counts.
You bet. Yeah, let everybody know about it because we want to keep you here. We want to keep our filmmakers here, and yeah, it was great. A great special edition of Arts Talk.
It was. So next month, or well, in 2 weeks, we'll go back to our regular format, and we'll have a couple of really fun guests with some surprises, which we won't tell you about, but
Yes.
you'll be super freaked out. It'll be amazing.
So make sure that you don't miss the next show, and we'll see you then. Thank you.